Your dad is still alive?
What?
Your father. You said he's still alive.
Yeah. Oh. Who are you? I'm Miles Morales.
Well, I definitely forgot somebody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another second kind of mess up because I forgot. I just forgot to talk about Mr. G. Morales here. Yeah, he is such a interesting character, to say the least. Yeah, that's about all I can say without spoiling anything. You already got the thing at the beginning of the video, so I'm going to talk heavy spoilers. Miles goes to the wrong universe at the end of the movie. End of the movie is kind of an understatement. At the last 15 minutes or so of the end of the movie, he goes to the wrong universe, Earth 42, and we're going to talk about all of that. So yeah, with all that being said, let's just dive right into the art book because the art of the Spiderverse is quite something without me jumping over my words. Anyway, let's go right into that. With Earth 42, there is a universe full of super villains running around New York City doing all their crime and bad guy stuff. We've all seen that before. There's nothing new here. The new thing here is that Miles is the only universe is Spider-Man, but not really. He's not actually Spider-Man. We're just gonna look at some of this beautiful art because I completely forgot to show all of this the way that I needed to, and it is just absolutely phenomenal. Like throughout these, you're actually going to notice some things that are actually talked about here at the beginning in the little introduction to Earth 42. That didn't mean to rhyme, but anyway. Earth 42 is a nice, parallel, slightly gritty, slightly darker world, and they wanted you to get trapped in this world. They wanted you to get trapped in the darkness and the shadows of this world. And I think they did a very good job because I sure did get trapped in a lot of this. And my goodness, do these environments not do what was done in the film as much justice as they should. I mean, they do, but it's like, wow. They executed a lot of this so very well with so little room for error, or at least to me it wasn't much room for error. This entire splash right here, this bottom one, is so evocative of The Dark Knight Returns, and I love that. With Frank Miller's famous and sometimes infamous, depending on who you ask, his famous and infamous cover of The Dark Knight, and my goodness, is it just so good. And having us have a worm's eye view looking up with seeing the only vigilante, well, the only person who's kind of capable of stopping all these supervillains, if he actually wanted to, because he's kind of a vigilante. It's really cool to see that. It's just, oh man, it's so good. And then this shows the environment that he's in. Then this right here is just what we've already seen in the movie, or at least a slightly alternative take of it. I love that. I love this so much. This came together so well when I first saw this 5 minutes ago. When I first saw this, it screamed Sean Gordon Murphy. And if you don't know him, I will put some of his artwork on the screen right now. He is one of the best Batman artists and writers of the past 5 years, actually. At least that's when I paid attention. That's when he started writing Batman the White Knight, as well as The Curse of the White Knight. Such a good, phenomenal story and book itself. These all right here reminded me a combination of Miller and Murphy working together as if they didn't. Actually, I kind of need to see that now. Those two artists would kind of make a lot of sense to do. Anyway, these are all the storyboards for what we already saw. Some of these you actually saw at the beginning of the video. And my goodness, is it so good. It's like there's not much that you had to do in order to make sure this stuff looked good. But my goodness, when I finally noticed that they actually overlaid both Miles's kilometers? No. When I noticed that they actually overlaid both of Miles's faces, both of their faces, yes, I would just say it like that. and they actually cut between them, and it was that perfect symmetry. The only difference was the background, the environment, and their hair as well as their outfits. I was like, yeah, I knew they were gonna do that, but I didn't notice that they did it until I was reviewing the footage for this video, and I was like, that was a blinking you miss it type of thing, like most of the movie, but my goodness, was it good. Like, man, I was super surprised to see it, but I was like, yeah. Coming over here, and while we're doing this, this is the very excellent splash of how Morales' entire thing came together. I'm gonna call him the Prowler for the rest of this video, if I somehow remember to call him that, because I'm gonna say Miles anyway. This is a version of Miles that grew up completely different in this very different, very dark world, and his entire personality, just from the few lines that we actually got from him in the movie, despite him being voiced by the same person, because they are the same person, it's like you hear the rough and tough tumble and School of Hard Knocks type of personality inside of his voice, just from the few lines that we had. And just hearing that made this very, very interesting to look at, especially when we got around to seeing a lot of his alternate character designs, which I teased in the beginning of my last video, but I completely forgot to pay it off. So sorry, but not really, because I'm doing it now. But anyway, this particular design right here, just in case, just in case you weren't paying attention, he's also not this one. There he is. He's also right here. So in my last video, I kind of did show you how he looked, but I didn't show you the whole page. My bad. And then this one right here looks like Robin. All of these look like Bat-esque characters, Bat family characters, and I like that a lot. Coming back over. Also, while we're going through this, I'll actually add some of the pictures that Chris Anka, the main character designer for the movie, actually did for Prowler. And oh man, when I tell you, so many of these look good, they make so much sense. And I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah, this character is very tech based. There's a lot of hooks, belts, straps, clips, and ropes all throughout his character design. And when I tell you if he doesn't look like how Marvel Comics was trying to do most of the 90s characters back then, I don't know what else to tell you. That was just very fun to see. I have no idea how else to phrase that, but that's how I phrased it. I love this entire thing here. And actually, his logo that is spray painted, you see this when Miles Morales is actually introduced to G Morales in that one. It's literally a blinking you miss it frame, because I went frame by frame and it was there for that long. But once you see it, you'll actually start noticing, and I hope they do it more in the next film, whenever that comes out at this point. So much has changed since I last dropped that video. That's wild. There's so many small little things that were done between Miles himself as well as the other Miles to get back here. Yes, this is what I wanted to do. With him being more of a vigilante, and that's really stated throughout the book too. Well, it's throughout the book right here. It's stated right here. With him being a vigilante, I see how they wanted to do it, and I also see why they wanted to have him be a bit more of a Spider-Man type character. But also, I'm glad they kept him with being the Prowler. So these sketches make sense here if they were done earlier, because I have no idea like when any of these were done. These could have been done before or after the original Prowler was done. I have no idea. But I like how he has a lot of Red Hood's type of he has a lot of the Red Hood type of get up, and I like that so much. I like the hood, I like the goggles as well as the face mask, and then I like how his hair is just open. That's one of the biggest things that they actually kept. I like that. So they kept his hair, well, his hair as well as his forehead, but basically his locks coming down the back, they actually inform his silhouette, and they kept that falling down so that we can see how different he is in and out of his mask. And with the additional designs that Chris actually posted to Twitter, it only helped inform a lot more of what was done. The one thing that I see between Miles G and Miles, the thing that I noticed a lot was the lack, or at least the toning down of the red. With Miles's outfit, he has minimal red, and the bleeding from the armpits thing is still funny, but with his original character designs that were coming through and being messed around, he had a lot more red on him. And I touched on this in the last video, and I talked about it too. With Miles, like his suit is mostly black, so it just makes perfect sense for him to not have too much red in his suit. But going through it, it makes perfect sense to have a little bit of red in some of these original outfits for the Prowler. But once you actually see how the Prowler looks, red makes no sense, kind of, or at least in my head it wouldn't. And I'm, speaking from the voice of being a partial character designer. I just spent a whole week making a ship, so I made stuff. Having the use of red here would have made a lot more sense, but the way that they ended up doing it, I like how they changed the red itself into a bit more of a magenta. A magenta is the printer version of red, for anybody who doesn't know that. Also, it's a version of red that is red when you print it out on paper, but it's also pink, kind of. It's kind of a bit of a violet type of red, a purple red that bleeds between each other depending on when you're looking at it. And I like that so much. And I like how they used it throughout the film. Again, throughout the last 15 minutes, because again, this character is only in the movie for the last 15 minutes. But I loved it so much. And with all that being said, that's really it. I just wanted to touch on that because I completely forgot it in the last video, and I was really happy to get to it. But then by the time I was done and editing everything, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot something. It's okay. We're gonna get back to it. Here we are at the end of here. This is Miles G. Morales, aka the Prowler. I loved him so much. I love how he looked. And here, this is the bar with no name. I'm not gonna really talk too much about it, but this is the bar with no name. That is a supervillain waterhole. Unless I read this wrong, this is actually in Earth 42 or on Earth 42. I love the design for it. It's always cool to see how character designers and environmental designers actually repurpose the old and used tunnels of New York, as well as Chicago and every other city and urban area in the world that actually uses trains and subways, or at least used to, and then because cars and Ubers took over the world, people just don't use them anymore and they just became more dilapidated. I just love that. And then this is a character, I'm not going to go into her at all. This is a character who is the bartender for the bar with no name. Her name is Delilah. It's the character that I said I wasn't going to show in the last video, and then I didn't show her at all. At least I kept a promise there. Whatever. And with all that being said, hope you all enjoyed the video. Feel free to like, subscribe, click that share button at the very bottom of the screen, or right next to the subscribe button. I don't know where YouTube places their buttons anymore. I get confused now. And also feel free to leave a comment down below. Tell me which of your favorite Spider-Mans do you like? And also which version of Miles do you like the most? Right now, I'm gearing towards the Prowler / Miles G. Morales. He's pretty cool. I like the tech-based Spider-Man characters who aren't technically Spider-Man characters. I always enjoy them because they're very weird and very quirky somehow. Anyway, with all that being said, I will catch you all later. Also, while you're here, feel free to go ahead and click these boxes right here. One of these should be the Spider-Man video, the Spider-Verse video that I did. Enjoy the first part of this technically second part video, because that video has all the good stuff. And also just watch the other one too, because I wouldn't mind some extra watch time. Why not? A couple of more seconds. Okay, Jerry, cut the video now.